Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the Political Brown Kid here. I told you all I was going to do a video on the decline of R&B music. As you can see, I did one on, you know, this is kind of popped into my head years ago to talk about this subject if I ever started up me a YouTube channel. Totally forgot about it. Then Special Ed came out with some comments on NWA, and I definitely made a video on that. If you haven't seen that, definitely check that out. But it also reminded me to revisit this topic. And not only that, I did some videos on how the adult content media industry has destroyed, helping to destroy humanity. And it kind of popped into my head too that I need to talk about this because the adult media content, the adult media industry has definitely, you can see the reflection. Hip hop is a reflection of society. It definitely is. You can see how, and I definitely talked about that when I talked about the NWA thing. You could see that throughout hip hop's um, life cycle. When you listen to, it's a difference when you listen to Grandmaster Flash, Melly Mel, and the Furious Five. You can hear the politics and what they talked about, what they saw in New York. What they saw as far as the drug use with, powdered, the powdered form of the coca leaf. I won't say the total word here, but they talked about that, and they talked about politics, and they talked about living in in poverty and in impoverished neighborhoods. You could hear it through, other music. You could hear the jovial side of hip hop through the Fat Boys, and you can hear the love side through Father MC and through Heavy D, and definitely the politics through Public Enemy as well. And then NWA came along and they gave you the side of, hip hop, which is needed. I'm not knocking NWA totally. I'm knocking NWA after Ice Cube left. I think NWA after Ice Cube left was total trash. But but you could hear the politics in them talking about what they saw from a West Coast perspective, because us on the East Coast, we didn't know about the gang culture. We didn't know about the life that they were living. So you heard it through that. And then when the 90s came along, you could hear, then the crack rappers came along. Those were the rappers who lived through the 80s, drug kingpins and through, that whole epidemic. So you could kind of see their influence on hip hop. And it has gone steadily downhill ever since. And now it's gotten even worse because now you see the 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 perversions, these sexual perversions, if I can say that word. I hope I can here, but you can hear the perversions of individuals in hip hop. Well, the one thing that hip hop did was, and really, this is really just on hip hop itself. I mean, it's not really on hip hop. Hip hop destroyed itself, in my personal opinion. There's still some great artists around, but unfortunately, these record labels and the record labels executives have to take some responsibility for not promoting and putting money behind good artists and seeking talent outside of ignorant degenerates. And you have to blame the media, the individuals that put these people on television, that put these people on radio, that don't promote good, positive hip hop. They just don't do it. The only time they promote good, positive hip hop is when somebody dies. When Tupac died, then all the radio people want to get sad and say, we're not going to play any violent music today. But then the next day, they're back playing the same stuff. They want to talk about stopping violence, but they only want to stop it for 24 hours when their favorite artist gets killed. Same thing with Biggie. Same thing with, I think, was it Freaky Tah? Same thing with all of these people when they die. Everybody wants to get sad, and then they want to have a conscience and not play it. But then they go right back to it. And then when the beefs come in hip hop, then these people get happy again because somebody's going to fight and they get to talk about it on the radio. And instead of just don't even talk about it, just be like, we're not even going to talk about these fools. Nas and Jay-Z want to say ignorant stuff to each other. We ain't even going to talk about it. But the one thing I can say about Nas and Jay-Z is they didn't keep it respectable. I think Nas did. Jay-Z took it to a level of stupidity when he talked about the man's baby's mother and said a bunch of other things. And other people got involved that said even worse things. But at least they were able to be civilized about it and it didn't turn violent. But I'm not gonna make this about rap. I'm just kind of setting the tone though here because rap is like how I mentioned that NWA influenced hip hop in a negative way, even though NWA had the right to give their perspective because we only needed one NWA, but it was the record executives that pushed in 50 more NWA type of rappers, and then the East Coast followed suit with the crack rappers, right? But just as NWA, in my personal opinion, had that effect on hip hop as a whole had its effect on R&B music. So the reason why I say that is because when you look at R&B music before in the 80s, R&B music was just totally different. You had people like Cameo wearing the wildest things. You had people like The Deal. You had people like um, DeBarge and just you had really decent singers, Shanice Wilson, Tracy Spencer, you could name a Vesta. We could go on and on with the list, but but the music it wasn't vulgar outside of a very few artists like you had Prince who was probably the most vulgar at that time, and even Prince is tame compared to the stuff that you hear today. But you had Prince who was probably the most vulgar act that you could probably hear. You had some older people like was it Clarence Carter or Clarence whatever name I be stroking, but they would always make songs like that, but they would kind of they would kind of insinuate what they were doing. They kept it clean and classy, but it was like, you know what I'm talking about though. Even when you listen to Ready for the World, they made songs like I'm So Deep Inside of Your Love. And they would say little certain things too that kind of teetered that line, but they never really crossed the line as far as vulgarities. And then it was like when hip hop came along, it was like all of these R&B artists, in order to be cool, everybody wants to be a bad boy. And so that's why I say before hip hop turned gangsterish, everyone was accepted. Like you accepted non-gangster rappers. You accepted people like Special Ed. You accepted people like who, Special Ed just was a cool kid. He just cool. You accepted people that just didn't talk about, you know, you could have Fat Boys and other artists exist that didn't talk about guns and drugs and all of this other stuff, and they were just as accepted as others. But now, when you listen to and on the R&B side, that was just R&B world. But it was like once that came into play, everybody wanted to be hard. Everybody wants to be a gangster. And when you look at the R&B artists, specifically kind of like, I can kind of, it didn't start with this group probably, but probably did. But they were kind of like on the cutting edge of it. It's like when you look at Jodeci, they wanted to come in and they wanted to be like, well, we want to be, that new edition type, but we're just the hardcore guys. We want to have that look that we're cool and we're tough and we're from the streets. And if then you kind of have people adopt this, I just want to look hard type of look. Even though I'll say that their music, I'm not saying anything about their music. I think their music was relatively good, but they cursed in their music, which I didn't think was necessary. But they just wanted to have this persona that we're not any suckers because once again, it's a part of the black culture where we don't want to be punks. We don't want to be suckers. So then once you had that type of group come in, now you have all of these other acts, and I'm not going to name a whole bunch of them, but then later on, even the solo acts, I'm looking at it from the male perspective for a minute, is now you want to have like people like Chris Brown, they want to be gangsters and they want to get jumped into gangs. You've already made it and you're already on stage, and now you want to get jumped in and you're from Virginia. So you have this type of stuff, and then you want to have this bad boy behavior and this bad boy persona, like you're cool and you're tough. And then from the female side, like you listen to these newer females, it's just like, they want to, you want to eat it, you want to eat it like, and they just, and how do you sing? How do you make that sound eloquent in a song? How do you make the N word? You even have guys like singing the N word. It's like, why can't we just keep the music? Like, if there was anything that, like, I can understand rap being taking stuff there because it's kind of like a form of poetry and it's just a reflection of an environment. But you're supposed to be singing melodic tunes. So how do you sing the N word, and make that sound sexy and beautiful? How do you say somebody's tossing your salad in a vulgar way, and you sing that over a nice melodic beat, and you're just talking about other nasty acts that people are doing to you, and you make that sound eloquent? I just don't understand why the R&B side had to even go there. And like I said too, it's not just the music that they had to taint and sour us with the lyrics and just crass lyrics. They have to taint it with the image that they're tough and that they're bad, and then they have to follow up on that by punching people and getting into fights and getting into beefs. And you're supposed to be R&B singers. We're probably one of the only cultures that do it. We're the very few cultures that do it. And the only non-melanated people who do this type of stuff are the non-melanated people who want to hang out with melanated people. And they want to prove that they're down. They let our foolishness influence them to be foolish. But you don't see this from those other groups. You just don't see it. When they get arrested for either substance abuse, carrying an illegal substance. If they die from substance abuse. Kurt Cobain, I mentioned this. The dude Jim Morrison from The Doors. You can go down the list. Amy Winehouse, unfortunately, and I'm not dogging these people for this. I'm just giving examples. Once again, Selena, she did get shot. She got shot, but she got. If you look at the context of her shooting, she got shot because she was trying to approach somebody running her fan club, and that person had to be the foolish one. So she didn't get shot. Her shooting, when you look at it in context, it wasn't. You can't blame that on her. But when you look at our shootings, whether it's R&B, whether it's hip hop, it's just us doing dumb stuff, beating people up at a casino. I'm thinking that it's cool to beat people up and throw up gang signs. And you're supposed to be a millionaire throwing up gang signs. Us wanting to run record companies like they're mobs, beefing with other record companies because you want to compete with one another. Getting shot, gambling, and just playing dice and shooting dice in places where that shouldn't be game. Like, why aren't you at a casino doing this? Just shooting at each other like it's nothing. Getting shot because we don't like each other. These are the reasons why we get shot. And some of the reasons we don't even know. He just got shot. Joker just shot him. Or we're going to jail, transporting drugs, shooting at people in the middle of the street, endangering other people's lives, just doing stuff. And we think that it's cool. We think that it helps us with our street credibility. But we're supposed to be millionaires who are changing our lives for the better. So, this is and this is R&B, and this is R&B and rap, because R&B has allowed hip hop, the persona of hip hop, to affect how they are going to portray their persona. All because R&B artists want to be cool. And they don't think it's cool anymore because they know that the girls, and maybe it's the ladies' fault, because some of the guys are doing this because they know ladies want it, but you can't blame it on the lady. I'm not going to blame everything on the ladies. You can't allow these women who want these bad boys to affect you. Just be who you are. Make good music. And if they can't love you for that, then you don't need them. So once again, I'm the political brown kid. If you have any comments, definitely leave some comments. And there were some good R&B artists. Usher came up in a different time. Usher came up, and I think he's one of the good ones. At least from when I got out of Usher. Usher, I'm out of Usher now. I don't know what he's doing now, but he did, at least when he was in the game, when I was into him, he made good music. Tevin Campbell definitely made good music, but he had a very short career. He definitely made good music. He had a very good voice, and like I said too, Shawnee's Wilson used to make good music. Um, Definitely enjoyed listening to Shawnee's, and we had some good artists. But nowadays, that doesn't sell records. Being nice and being clean doesn't sell records. So maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just a dinosaur, I guess. I don't know. But once again, this is the Political Brown Kid. Everybody be well. Remember to hit the like and subscribe, and definitely leave comments. I'm out of here.